Hello, my name is Chioma Isiadinso. I'm the CEO of Expartus. Expartus is an admissions consulting company, and we specialize in helping students get into the best universities in America. The best way for a student to prepare for a college fair is, first of all, to understand what college experience is like in America. So I would recommend that the student read up on the experiences of students, particularly international students, in terms of what life is like in an American university, what the academic life is about, and also the social life, which is a very important part of the experience. Once they've done that, and a good book I would recommend is Uni in the US, and I think it's published by the Good School Guide on their website. So once they've done that and they're quite convinced that the American university is right for them, then what I'd recommend they do is that they look at the list of schools that are coming to the college fair and highlight the schools that are of interest to them, and even schools that they may not know so much about. And once they create a preliminary list, they can then do some research. I recommend starting a few weeks before the actual fair event, because it's important to just take a few minutes to each evening or so to look at each of the schools and make sure that they make sense. And then finally, I would say, come up with two lists: a priority list and a list of schools that if you don't get to visit, it's not a big deal. So your priority list should be schools that you really want to make sure that you meet somebody from that school and you really engage them and learn what they're about. So once you've done your homework, have some questions. Come up with a list of 3 or 4 questions that you're going to ask the admissions people. But let it be questions you really care about. Not just generic questions or basic questions that can easily be found on the website. So that would be the key things that I'd encourage students to do to prepare for their college visit. The kinds of questions students should ask the exhibitors are questions that really demonstrate that they've done their homework, that they are genuinely interested in the school. Clearly, questions that are obvious, questions that shows that they haven't even given much thought to the school are no-nos. Here are 3 or 4 examples of good questions to ask. You could ask them something like, what is the kind of student that you're looking for? Or rather, another way to ask the question is, who is the ideal student, or who is a student that does very well at your school? Okay. You could ask about international students and the opportunities to get scholarships. I think that's a fair question to ask. I think it's also important to ask about faculty engagement. So you could ask them about the opportunity to interact with faculty, whether it's to do research, to do an independent study, or even a project. So find out what kind of flexibility is at the school to be able to work with a faculty member. The most important thing is that you make sure that you, the student, are the one, that you are doing the talking and not your parents. Very important. Admissions people do not like to have a student standing next to their parent and the parent is asking all the questions and the student is looking around, may look bored, may look like they were dragged to this event. So you want to show interest. You definitely want to have very good eye contact, walk up to the admissions rep, shake their hands, and ask them a question. That demonstrates maturity, confidence, and of course looking the part is also important. So you don't want to show up at the table and just wearing flip-flops and I don't know, like cut-off shorts, looking like you're about to go to the beach. That wouldn't really send the right signal. I think the best thing to do, as I tend to mention to our students at Expartus, is think of it as if you were going to dinner to a very nice restaurant with a family friend of your parents. How would you look? And then take that extra effort to make sure that your whole image, as well as your conversational, verbal communication, sends the right image to the admissions rep. I would say the first thing they need to do is have a notebook, have a couple of pens that work, and for some people a notebook might be good, but they might need one of those accordion folders or envelopes that it has like 3 or 4 sections in it that's already pre-labeled, you know, very interested, somewhat interested, and no longer interested. And so as you visit, I wouldn't sort of carry it around in an obvious way. Have it in a bag, whether it's like in a bag that you have in your hand or in your backpack. The key thing is, as you meet each of the admissions reps, it's important to, as soon as you finish asking them questions, learning more about their program, take a minute when you leave to jot down some notes, whether you do it in your notebook or you do it in a 3x5 card. So when it comes to following up after the college fair, it's very, very important that students do it quickly. So I recommend that you send, at the minimum, an email, just a quick email just to say, thank you, Mrs. So-and-so, it was wonderful meeting you, and just have a sentence or two that recaps what you talked about. Anything that was specific to the conversation that would hopefully jog their memory is what I would definitely flag. So the last thoughts I wanted to share with applicants as you think of attending a college fair, the key thing to keep in mind is it can be intimidating for some students, particularly if it's a student who is somewhat shy. I want to encourage you, if you find yourself to be sort of questioning whether you should go to a college fair or not, to take the time and go. It's very important. Why is it important? Because it's really about relationship building. It's not a make or break. So look at it really as, it's not that the admissions rep is going to be evaluating you, it's really a chance for you to evaluate the school as well.